Have you ever thought to yourself like, man, what could possibly be better than winning the lottery and coming home to your 4-story house where Ash Cass is giving you a foot massage and the sweet, sweet melody of Frank Ocean is playing in the background? Silly. The answer to that is obvious. It's naming random NBA role players. In this video, I'm going to give my best attempt at comparing the top 10 players in the NBA today to random role players. Some of the guys in this list are in the Hall of Fame strictly because of their international playing career, not because of their NBA playing career. So keep that in mind while I go through this video. Alright, enough of the yapping. Let's get on to the list. Coming in at number 10, we have Anthony Edwards and DeShawn Stevenson. Both athletic and versatile guards. The main reason for this selection was because that coming out of college, DeShawn Stevenson received comparisons to Michael Jordan. And who else in the NBA is known today as MJ's son? Similar to Edwards, Stevenson was a good defending guard who had a solid back-to-the-basket game and good footwork. Just like Ant-Man, that boy Stevenson ain't back down to nobody. He talked trash. He even talked trash to LeBron James. It was so bad, in fact, that they had a long-term beef, and if you go on YouTube, you can find a whole timeline for DeShawn Stevenson and LeBron James beef. He talked trash to him and beat him, so I say he's valid. Speaking of LeBron, at number 9 we have Jabari Parker as LeBron James' comparison. It was very difficult to find the role player that compares to LeBron. But if you've been following basketball since Parker entered the league in 2014, you would know that he drew comparisons to James very early on, even getting recognized as a future face of the league. And at the time, it made sense. Parker could do everything a young LeBron could do. He could slash very well, shoot the mid-range, and play make, a big guard. But what really separated the two was injuries. You see, LeBron has always been known, up until now, as a juggernaut, an Iron Man. A guy who's consistently healthy and never has to sit out games because he's never injured. But what really derailed Parker's career was injuries. He had 2 ACL injuries very early on that kind of slowed down his athleticism and led to a very short and underwhelming career. At number 8, we have another well-known comparison between Stephen Curry and Jimmer Fredette. Just like Steph with Davidson, Jimmer had his own March Madness run with BYU. And the comparisons make sense. Jimmer had a handle, could shoot from deep, and had a good floater just like Curry. That's all there really is to it.
Teach me how to Jimmer.
Another good choice here would be Muhammad Abdul-Rauf, but he's been talked about plenty enough on YouTube, so I'm just going to stick with Jimmer. At number 7, we have Curry's former teammate, Kevin Durant. The comparisons I chose for him are Alexei Pokusevski and Michael Beasley. Here's the thing with Durant. He's a unicorn, which means he's a one-of-a-kind talent, and there's not really any role players ever that play like KD, but there's some that come kinda close. Anyways, what makes Beasley and kinda Poku play similar to KD is that they're both tall forwards that can shoot, handle the ball, and play at their own pace. More so Mike Beasley though, because just like Durant, he had a solid back-to-the-basket game and actually got buckets. And they both smoke a lot of weed. At number 6, we have another smooth bucket getter with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his comparison, Marshawn Brooks. Similar to SGA, that boy Marshawn Brooks was a pure bucket getter, a high volume scorer with a solid mid-post game, a smooth jumper, and a good handle. If you wanted a bucket, you got it to Brooks, no matter what team he was on. Also, just like Shai, he had good hands, so he wasn't a pure slouch on defense too. Starting off our top 5, we have Jason Tatum and his comparison, John Salmons. If you're a Bulls fan or played any of the old 2Ks back in the day, you would understand this comparison. Because just like JT, that boy Salmons was nice. He had a smooth game, a nice 3-ball in mid-range, and was a microwave and spark for whatever team he played for. If you watched any of the old playoff games, Salmons was that guy. He could score a calm 20 and you wouldn't even know. At number 4, we have Joel Embiid and his comparison, Rafe LaFrentz. If you didn't know who he was already, let me put you on, because Rafe was underrated. One of the first bigs to be able to stretch the floor, he shares a lot of similarities to Embiid. He could play make, he had a pretty post game, and his biggest and most well-known attribute was his shot blocking. His physical presence down low, even though he was a power forward, was huge because he had super long arms and was sending back anything that people sent his way. Beginning the top three, we have Luka Doncic and his comparison, Toni Kukoc. Back in high school, we had a meeting before basketball practice. Our coach asked us, who's your guys' favorite NBA player? One of my teammates says, Toni Kukoc. That teammate got kicked off the team. Nah, but that boy Kukoc was nice, and there's a reason I'm comparing him to Luka. Standing at 6'11", Toni Kukoc was one of the first tall European playmaking guards that played at a pace similar to Luka. He was clutch and one of the perennial six men in the 90s, and if it wasn't for him, the Bulls don't win those 3 rings in a row, from 96 to 98. It also helps that he doesn't play defense either, just like Luka. At the number 2 spot, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo and his comparisons, Corey Maggette and Storm Miles Swift. I chose Maggette because he was pure muscle, ran through everybody, and was dunking everything. An inefficient shooter similar to Giannis, and could play defense when he wanted to. Giannis always plays defense, but Maggette was 50-50. I chose Swift because he quite literally dunked everything. If you watch a Storm Miles Swift highlight tape, it'll just be straight dunks. He was a terrible, god-awful shooter and played pretty good defense, but he was mostly a dunker. Just pure dunking, just like Giannis. At number 1, the best player in the league, Nikola Jokic, and his comparison, Boris Diaw. Now I could have went Vlade Divac here, but that's a boring choice, and some people don't even consider him a role player. But the Boris Diaw comparisons are uncanny. Besides the fact that he's 6'8", Diaw had an elite playmaking ability, had a good post game, and a great jump shot, and was a huge pivotal part to the Spurs winning that ring in 2014. Both European big men that contributed to team success, there's a reason for this number 1 spot. That's all from me, y'all. Be sure to let me know down in the comments, who's your favorite NBA role player? And until next time, peace.